King Tutankhamun, or Tutankhamun, ruled Egypt as pharaoh for 10 years until his death at age 19. Around 1324 BC. Although his rule was notable for reversing the tumultuous religious reforms of his father, Pharaoh Akhenaten, Tutankhamun's legacy was largely negated by his successors. He was barely known to the modern world until 1922, when British archaeologist Howard Carter chiseled through a doorway and entered the boy pharaoh's tomb, which had remained sealed for more than 3,200 years. The tomb's vast hoard of artifacts and treasure, intended to accompany the king into the afterlife, revealed an incredible amount about royal life in ancient Egypt, and quickly made King Tut the world's most famous pharaoh. Genetic testing has verified that King Tut was the grandson of the great pharaoh Amenhotep III, and almost certainly the son of Akhenaten, a controversial figure in the history of the 18th dynasty of Egypt's New Kingdom, circa 1550 to 1295 BC. Akhenaten appended a centuries-old religious system to favor worship of a single deity, the sun god Aten, and moved Egypt's religious capital from Thebes to Amarna. After Akhenaten's death, two intervening pharaohs briefly reigned before the 9-year-old prince, then called Tutankhaten, took the throne. Tutankhamun reversed Akhenaten's reforms early in his reign, reviving worship of the god Amun, restoring Thebes as a religious center and changing the end of his name to reflect royal allegiance to the creator god Amun. He also worked in concert with his powerful advisors Horemheb and I, both future pharaohs, to restore Egypt's stature in the region. There are many theories as to what killed King Tut. He was tall but physically frail, with a crippling bone disease in his clubbed left foot. He is the only pharaoh known to have been depicted seated while engaged in physical activities like archery. Traditional inbreeding in the Egyptian royal family also likely contributed to the boy king's poor health and early death. DNA tests published in 2010 revealed that Tutankhamun's parents were brother and sister and that his wife, Ankhesenamun, was also his half-sister. Their only 2 daughters were stillborn. Because Tutankhamun's remains revealed a hole in the back of the skull, some historians had concluded that the young king was assassinated, but recent tests suggest that the hole was made during mummification. CT scans in 1995 showed that the king had an infected broken left leg, while DNA from his mummy revealed evidence of multiple malaria infections, all of which may have contributed to his early death. After he died, King Tut was mummified according to Egyptian religious tradition, which held that royal bodies should be preserved and provisioned for the afterlife. Embalmers removed his organs and wrapped him in resin-soaked bandages, at 24-pound solid gold. Portrait mask was placed over his head and shoulders and he was laid in a series of nested containers. 3 golden coffins, a granite sarcophagus and 4 gilded wooden shrines, the largest of which barely fit into the tomb's burial chamber, because of his tomb's small size. Historians suggest King Tut's death must have been unexpected and his burial rushed by I, who succeeded him as pharaoh. The tomb's antechambers were packed to the ceiling with more than 5,000 artifacts, including furniture, chariots, clothes, weapons and 130 of the lame king's walking sticks. The entrance corridor was apparently looted soon after the burial, but the inner rooms remained sealed. The pharaohs who followed Tut chose to ignore his reign, as despite his work restoring Amun, he was tainted by the connection to his father's religious upheavals. Within a few generations, the tomb's entrance had been clogged with stone debris, built over by workmen's huts and forgotten. By the time he discovered Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, British archaeologist Howard Carter had been excavating Egyptian antiquities for 3 decades. At the time of the discovery, archaeologists believed that all the royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings across the river from ancient Thebes had already been cleared. Excitement about the new tomb, the most intact ever found, quickly spread worldwide. It took Carter and his team a decade to catalog and empty the tomb. Artifacts from King Tut's tomb have toured the world in several blockbuster museum shows, including the worldwide 1972–79 Treasures of Tutankhamun exhibitions. 8 million visitors in 7 U.S. cities viewed the exhibition of the Golden Burial Mask and 50 other precious items from the tomb. Today the most fragile artifacts, including the burial mask, no longer leave Egypt. Tutankhamun's mummy remains on display within the tomb in the Valley of the Kings in the KV-62 chamber, his layered coffins replaced with a climate-controlled glass box. His golden mask is on display at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, but the Tutankhamun collection will eventually move to the Grand Egyptian Museum, or GEM, slated to open in 2020.